Hello, welcome to The Witch in the Woods. And today I'm going to talk about the dark goddess. Yeah, the dark goddess. I don't know what to call this video. In fact, I'm doing this entirely without a script. So, off the top of my head, we're going to call this How the Witch Heals Your Childhood Wounds. The dark goddess as the oldest of the Norns, or who is the witch in the woods? Stick around and find out what I improvise. Yep, they're coffee teeth. Just to prove that I don't do Hollywood, I'm drinking coffee. And I say and not and I cannot do an American accent. I have tried and tried and tried. And see, I can't do it. And I say and a lot. And this, shut up, crime. Okay, and tell me how you say that. Okay, so today, off the top of my head, I thought I should make a video about who is this initiator of witchcraft. I think without some depth to it, witchcraft isn't witchcraft. In fact, witchcraft is just like some craft morning on a Sunday meeting group in the church with women's association who teach you knitting and looking at your lovely crochet hats. So yeah, so let's talk about the dark goddess, because it's the dark goddess who is the real meat and veg of the whole name of witchcraft, if you ask me. And as far as I understand witchcraft, the dark goddess is the one who pulls you in, the one who you will meet if you are truly on that journey. You will meet the dark goddess, and the dark goddess will bring into your digestion things that you may not find quite digestible. You may have to regurgitate a little bit. The dark goddess is in no way a friendly, fluffy, crochet knitting New Ager. She isn't. She's scary. She can devour you. She is absolutely going to bring you face to face with the truth, whether you like it or not. And there is no rose-coloured spectacles on that path at all, unfortunately, although I look quite good in rose-coloured spectacles, I think. But that's not the way it goes. So what do we know of the Dark Goddess? We know that we meet her in the woods. She's not always in the woods. Sometimes we can meet her on a lonely seashore. Maybe she lives in a cave and she's covered in seaweed. Where else could she live? She could live... I imagine she could live in an urban setting in a basement with drums and bass. But mostly we know her as the character who lives in the wood in a tumble-down cottage. And we know this from fairy tales, and let's face it, most of Europe was covered in forest at one time. So where we meet the witch in the woods, in the forests and in the woodlands, we are meeting her in wild nature, in the expression of Mother Earth as wild nature, which is woodland. And what does she do? Well, she hauls us out of our complacency. And she takes us off the lost path. So what do we know of her? We know her from fairy tales. So we might think of her as Baba Yaga or Old Mother Hulda. And many of these stories have similar themes. The story of Old Mother Hulda tells of a girl who had a stepsister, and a stepmother who made her life particularly cruel, but she had to endure her existence, but they made her spin until her fingers bled. And the story goes that she was sitting by the well, spinning, and her fingers got so covered in the blood from this spinning and spinning and spinning that she dropped the spindle into the well. And she felt so sad. But she went home to her mother and she told her what had happened, and her cruel stepmother sent her right back to go and fetch the spindle. Now she knew that she couldn't rescue the spindle, so she sat there and she cried, and she felt sadder and sadder. And she stared into the well waters and she contemplated her life until she decided there was not much point in continuing. And so she dove down into the well to follow the spindle to the bottom, to the root of her existence, down into the underworld. Now, by the way that we meet this old woman in the underworld at the bottom of the well may lead us to think that she is in fact one of the Norns. There are said to be 3 Norns, and the youngest is the future, the middle age is the present, and the oldest of the Norns is the past. And when we meet Old Mother Hulda, or any of these characters of the Crone, in many ways we are referring to the oldest of the Norns. But it could be argued that Old Mother Hulda is in fact older than the Norns. She is a goddess who was there before the Indo-European pantheon. But we can understand her in relation to the oldest of the Norns. So if we talk about the Norns, the oldest Norn refers to that which has been, that situation into which we were born, and this is what the Dark Goddess helps heal. Without going into the depths, without scaling the descent of our very beings, we will only ever scratch the surface of magical work, of existence, and of our true potential. It's not the prettiest journey, it's an ugly journey. It may not be lined with glitter and success, but if it brings us real healing, if it brings us real understanding, we understand that glitter and success are superficial attachments to the world. It's not lacy doilies and crochet mornings and coffee with the girls. It's not. It's about really getting in touch with our own inner power, with our own genetic code almost, with our own being, with our ancestors, with our ancestral patterns, understanding them, seeing through the haze and learning how to heal them. Now, when she reaches the bottom of the well, she finds herself in a beautiful meadow, and she goes off and she goes to find the old witch in the woods who lives in a cottage on her own with the wild animals, with her magic and spells, with her potions, with her herbs, with her crystals, whatever you can picture there. But without meeting that dark goddess, the potions, the spells, the herbs, the crystals, they're just outer fluff. And the truth is, in other stories, the protagonists are actually sent into the woodlands to die. They've been sent there by their families, by their stepbrothers, their stepmothers, their stepfathers, those who should love them but who don't have a genuine loving kindness to offer these hurt and wounded children. And maybe we can all understand that, because love is human, and in this world we do not receive perfect love. And so when we're sent into the woodlands to die, our very survival is at question here. The very act of choosing life or facing death. And this is what the Dark Goddess represents too. How to navigate your way through the choice between life and death.
I've heard a story, I've heard it said, I've come to believe that love is a bet. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, and sometimes it calls you right in the move. Come to my table, come to my bed, go easy my hunger, easy my head, bringing me fire, bringing me water, taking me high, taking me down. Give me your pretty, give me your man.
And so, in many ways, the protagonists, the heroes, the heroines find their way to the old woman's cottage. And she is the great-grandmother. She is the one who can offer that unconditional healing love. So in many ways, it's imperative that everybody takes the journey to meet the Dark Goddess, because she's the one who changes the story, and she's the one who brings to light that which is hidden. And in many ways, the confusion in the world is like the elephant in the room. In many ways, these protagonists can't complain about their wicked stepsisters or their wicked stepmother. They just have to bear the circumstances in which they find themselves. In other ways, the children in the woods have their own faults that they have to face. And you can see this in Hansel and Gretel. And Hansel and Gretel's failure, really, is their greed. And they're looking for hedonistic pleasures in life. They're drawn to the sweets and the candies and the bad stuff, the things that are bad for you. And this is where the witch catches them. So you either have to face your shortcomings, your shadow sides, your problems, your limitations and your faults, or you may get eaten by the witch, by the old crone, and she will consume you like Ceridwen consumed Gwion-bach. And so this is a theme too. The Dark Goddess is not always loving and kind. She can be the destroyer. She can consume you. She can consume all that is dark in order for you to be awakened to those limitations, to your true self, to your shadow. So Hansel and Gretel, who are looking for hedonism, in the end must face the defeat of her, or she will eat them too. And so the Dark Goddess heals not only by being good and whole and lovely and kind and generous, but by also being your adversary. And in many ways, like Ceridwen, she's the one who can brew the magic potion, who can add the medicine to your life. And without meeting this Dark Goddess, your power will only ever be a superficial, surface level, cosmetic. And so we find the witch in the woods in a tumble down house, a broken down house, a house that is part return to nature, where the ivy is creeping in through the roof and the owls rest on the beams, where the roses are growing through the doors. Because in many ways she is Mother Nature. She is as old as the earth herself. And in many ways she is the soul of the earth herself. And that's why when we seek to understand our history, our ancestors, our patterns, our programming, our conditioning, and who we are in the world and our place on the world, it's the Dark Goddess, it's Mother Earth herself who has the answer. And she can help us escape those ancestral patterns that have bound us. And so in many ways, if we take the journey, metaphorically or literally, to find this Dark Goddess, we will find that she's always been seeking us too. And she will find us when the time is right. And she will call us when the time is right. And without this calling, without meeting her, We can never truly call ourselves witches. And witches, I don't like the word witches, so I'm not going to use it. So, without finding her, without meeting her, we will never really heal the deeper wounds of our own egos, our own shadows, and face ourselves. And only in facing ourselves, as Jung said, only in plumbing the depths will we really come to light and to power. So the dark goddess, the witch in the woods, is the initiator. It's her who will call you and who will teach you magic. And you can meet her in a journey. And basically, in a journey, just follow your intentions to go through the woods, pass through the wild subconscious, to find her cottage and to seek her wisdom. And just follow the journey and allow that to unfold. If you've got any questions to ask her, then ask her and you may receive answers that surprise you. I would recommend doing this. I would recommend working with the dark goddess as a symbol of power, wisdom, and she is a catalyst. She is the catalyst that brings about change. So this is my understanding of who the witch in the woods really is and why she's important to us. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you for being here, for commenting and liking and sharing and subscribing. I hope to speak to you all again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye. Can I get away with that wig? Wigs? I'm not really sure I can get away with that. Will I ever be able to show my face again now I've worn that wig? I mean, now you know that I've got a collection of wigs. I do like them. I mean, I don't dress up that much. But I did buy them. Alright. Let's not talk about the wig.